All right, so I have an interesting article here coming from Cord Cutters News. I'll provide the link for you down below in the description. You can check it out if you'd like. I always find these subjects interesting, specifically this one because we got some numbers crunched here. So it looks like a poll was taken from viewers who read Cord Cutters News. That's where we're getting this article from. They took votes from 1,700 plus customers who they asked, how many streaming services do you pay for? Is it 0? Is it 1, 2, 3, etc.? So according to the subject here, as you can see, most people are saying that they pay for 3 or fewer streaming services in 2025. So according to these poll results, of course, there are some super users here that are paying for more than 3 streaming services, and there's different reasons why they could be paying for that, right? Maybe they live in a large household. There's the family, mom and dad, and then there's a bunch of kids running around, 5, 6, 7 kids. Some households are large like that. And, there may be a need for all those streaming services. When the children are young, they may all specifically want their own type of service just for them. Disney Plus for one child, Hulu Plus for another, whatever it is. Then of course mom and dad need to watch something, so maybe they're getting Netflix or whatever it is they're into. And of course the bill will go up and the amount of streaming services that you use is calculated. So of course those are certain situations. There's a great deal of percentage, to be honest, of how many are actually doing that, or have that many services, should I say. But let's dive into the polls here. So as I mentioned, 1,700 of Cord Cutters readers were questioned on, how many streaming services they have. So right off the bat, we have 51.7% of the readers said that they pay for 3 or fewer streaming services. Then they took a look at who paid for 4 or fewer streaming services. That number jumped all the way to 6.8%. Said that the poll clearly shows that there was that it's only for streaming services. No free services were calculated. Only TV services, no music services. So bear that in mind. This has nothing to do with music. It's literally just Netflix, Paramount Plus, Hulu Plus, those types of services that were calculated into this equation. All right, so we have 0 services. 6.1% of the viewers said that they have 0 services. So, that's about a little over 100 viewers that were questioned that are not paying for anything. They're most likely using free services. Pluto TV, Roku TV channel, whatever they can get their hands on that's free. Sling TV, free stream. I talk about this all the time. There's plenty of good options out there. And these are probably customers that maybe they enjoy that live TV experience, but they don't want to pay for cable and they don't want to pay for streaming services. They could be on a fixed budget, or they simply don't find enough value in paying for it. These could also be users that spend most of their time on YouTube. Maybe, they're not paying for premium, but they're probably still getting that premium experience with ad blocker, right? They figured out a trick to, have their cake and eat it too. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's where that 6.1% comes from. But believe it or not, out of 100 plus people, out of 1,700 viewers, is proof that many customers are shying away from spending. So this is one of the things that I wanted to bring to light here in this discussion, is that, I always talk about how customers are tightening the belt and they're looking for ways to spend less and get more value. The free live TV channels like Pluto TV, etc., provide a lot of value to many customers. Now, there are some that have to have certain content and they're willing to pay. But, that's starting to lessen, should I say. So we have one service, 11.9%, 2 services, 15.3%, 3 services, 18.4%. So that's like the medium there. 4 services at 17.1%, 5 services at 12.1%, 6 services at 6.9%, 7 or more services at 9.5%. Now, 7 or more services at 9.5%, that is a lot. That's a lot. I mean, that means there's still a great amount of people that are paying for 7 or more services. You know, when you do the math, that's like 150 something or 160 something people that out of just the 1,700 that voted, that took the poll, are paying for 7 or more services. So, you know, there's still demand for that amount of services. Now, I don't know specifically what's calculated or why they're paying for that many services. It's my guess, you know, one reason I would think of is, like I mentioned, a large household. If there's a lot of children, everyone wants to watch something different. So rather than argue about what we're going to watch, you can have this service, you can have that service. And obviously money's probably not a problem, or although it could be digging them in a hole financially. But, you know, there are some families that allow for that. Many are not doing that anymore. And that's part of, you know, the discussion here is that, you know, if think about it like this, if 150 or 160 people are paying for 7 or more services, and then you have 103 or 105, somewhere around there, paying for 0 services, we can see how that number is starting to catch up, right? We're starting to see how more people are starting to pay for less. So even the average being 3 services, right? So that's in the middle there, right? So 3 services with 18.4% out of 1,700 people. So that's like what, 300, around 300 people paying for just 3. And, you know, that could be just normal family household spending, you know, just a few services. That could be some of the younger generation that spends a lot of time streaming. Maybe they work from home and they have it running in the background while they're doing work. You know, for a lot of people, it's peace of mind to have something going while they, you know, they work, especially if they don't do heavy phone work. They can have things going on in the background. No one's going to listen to it or hear it. So that's a lot of why they might have those services. But I still find it interesting that we're seeing the decline in what people are paying for. You know, it was cord cutting 1.0, get rid of live TV, which is completely breaking down. And some people will say, well, we've been hearing about that for years. I mean, it's a process, because there are some loyal customers that are going to stay on cable because of their bundling situation. Some of them are still using landlines. Some of them still have internet. These are folks that aren't interested in smartphones. They have one, but they're not interested in it, which means they don't really use it other than when it's necessary. So they have their internet, they have their landline, maybe they have wireless from their, you know, cable TV provider, you know, Spectrum, Cox, whichever it is, because it's all bundled in and it's cheaper. Maybe they just use their phone to make calls and send a text here and there and then put it away. And then, you know, they may have a decent deal on live TV, so they're keeping it around, you know. But at some point, those customers are going to lessen. Either they're just going to cut the cord, you know, maybe they'll retire and have no money to spend. Situations change. And that is when you're going to see more of a decline with cable and ultimately the demise of it. We're not really getting new customers on cable. And, you know, when it comes to streaming services, different things come to play here. Sometimes it's just a matter of certain content changing, right? Certain shows have come to an end. So now you'll see a decline in how many people subscribe to that specific streaming service for this quarter, but then that can change and increase the next quarter if a new show comes. But ultimately, I think overall, Americans are becoming more conscious about how they spend their money, and they're looking for the best ways to get the most value without breaking the bank, as where probably pre-pandemic, I would say, people weren't as considerate about how they spend their own hard-earned money. They weren't really thinking about it. I think that kind of put everyone into like a panic mode, to where they feel now things can go wrong, right? We could have another situation where we might find ourselves without work or not able to travel as much so that we can do certain things. So we got to tighten the belt, and be more conscious. This way we're feeling like we have a little bit more protection, around ourselves. So these are all things that play a role in, decision making with streaming too, I think. I mean, people are looking for any way possible to save in 2025, and they should be, because with the cost of rising everything, not just goods, it's everything, cost of rising everything. This is what you have to do. You have to try to stay ahead of the game if possible. So I don't know. I found this interesting, a little bit of a longer one. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts of this. Do you agree with these results? Are you one of the, are you part of this? Have you been cutting the cord, not spending? A lot of people have been leaving comments that they're paying for just YouTube Premium. That's it. That's their go-to. They do everything on YouTube, so they pay for that. They get YouTube Music, they get YouTube Premium. There are some movies that you can watch, and if all you do is really watch content creation all day anyway, for you that's the best value. You get your music, you get your videos, unboxing, news, podcasts, whatever it is you want. I mean, YouTube does have it all for that price. So I think a lot of people are just kind of turning to that. But again, let me know down in the comment section. Share with us what your thoughts are regarding this. As always, thank you so much for stopping in and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.